Let's go. Hello everyone, Konda here. Just returned from the Copenhagen and I feel really stoked to share what I experienced there and maybe give some recommendations what to do in the city and why in the first place you should go there or you shouldn't. You'll learn today. So if you feel like you like the video and you like the advice that I gave today, just hit a like. Put something in the comment, maybe you already been there or you're living in Copenhagen, so sure, share your experience, would be glad to hear it. And if you want some more videos by me, hit subscribe somewhere, I don't know, whatever, somewhere on this page. Yes, thank you. Whew. Alright, why Copenhagen? First of all, I don't know. I have this plan what I wanted to visit different European countries, just all the official European countries in the European continent. So far I had like 20 and so Denmark wasn't yet on the list, so that's why I wanted to go there. Was it the right decision? Maybe in a different time of the year it will be better because the weather wasn't as good as it could have been. Like maybe only on the last day it was fine, but overall it was really windy and the same as we have in the Netherlands, really windy, like this weird small drizzle, and that got a bit of annoying. So before I went to Copenhagen I knew only two things about it. There were a lot of hipsters and there is this district in the town where people doing drugs all days. So these were two things I knew about the city. That's why I didn't really expect anything, which is really cool. Like, you know, where you go to the place where you don't know anything about it and you maybe get some suggestions from your friends. Big shout out to my friend Mikey and my colleague who shared the whole map of the Copenhagen, visit different places with me. Well, I would say that 3 or 4 days is definitely enough to go through the whole Copenhagen and you just check out everything. Like, I don't think it would be worth to stay longer, like unless you want to explore the Denmark, because Copenhagen turned out to be not somewhere in the heart of the Denmark, but it's probably the most eastern city of the whole country, because then you can go to Malmö, which is already Sweden. And when I was looking for a place to stay in Copenhagen, a lot of Airbnbs were from Malmö and a lot of people were suggesting staying in Malmö and going to Copenhagen back and forth, which definitely is a terrible idea in my view, because you may have saved some money on staying in another city, but you need to go 30 or 40 kilometers to the Copenhagen. Which just doesn't make sense, right? Because you'll still have to pay for your travel back and forth, and it's always tiring. Why would you think of a more tiring way to stay in Copenhagen, and you won't save that much? I unintentionally broke my holiday in 4 parts. For respective districts of the Copenhagen. So on the first day I went to Centrum and I went to Østerbro, which is like eastern district, eastern part. I'm not sure how it's actually translated from Danish, but I suppose it's something with east and part. So first thing was the Østerbro, where you can see the Little Mermaid. This, you know, like a star looking, like if you look from the top on some kind of an island, let's call it an island / hill, which used to be a fortress. I think it's called Castle. I'll put the name somewhere here. So it looked like a shuriken or like a 5 ant star, and it looks from the high above way better than it looks when you just standing in front of it. And I'll just share a bunch of pictures, of course, here while I was walking in those districts. So just keep on looking what you can find out in those parts of the city. And it was kind of disappointing. And also the weather wasn't that good. It was just the day when I came. And intentionally, I was just walking around the park and I was just decide, okay, I'll go straight, because on Google Maps I saw, Lange something. I thought like, it pointed out as a place where I should go, so I'll just go there. And there was something called Lille, whatever. So I thought like, okay, so it's something with Lille, if you know, it's the city in the front. So I thought like, okay, so maybe there is like a statue referring to this city, whatever. Maybe it's there like twin cities. Well, you know what happened? It turned out to be that famous Little Mermaid. And I really almost accidentally went there just because I wasn't sure where to go. On the first day, I just wanted to walk around. I just wanted to go to the places where my friend Mike didn't point out where I should go. So I just decided, I'll just go here. Okay. Besides that, in Østerbro, you won't see anything that interesting, maybe a bunch of other sculptures, and then in Centrum, obviously, Nyhavn, the most famous part of the Copenhagen. You'll see it everywhere on the postcards, and people usually taking pictures only there, of course. I did so as well. Sorry for my guilt. And like a bunch of imperialistic buildings. Architecture is fine, and the center get this feeling, like architecture in the centrum get the feeling of the royal city, like capital with the royal family living in it. You know, like every city where it wasn't kind of a republic but more of a like kings and royal families, they usually have this kind of a sort of architecture that has really broad streets. They have like this, I mean, for European point of view, kind of high buildings, maybe 5 floors, 6 floors, and those are in quite good condition. So it's already great to see, because I personally like wide streets. Maybe that's why I like Copenhagen more than Amsterdam. You know what's funny? I really felt that Copenhagen is a mixture of Amsterdam and Vienna. Fun fact. Nørrebro. Okay, Nørrebro is considering to be the most hipstery district of Copenhagen, and personally I didn't spot that much of a difference. I mean, maybe just a bit. So what was suggested that once you're in Nørrebro, you'll see only hipsters riding on scooters with big beards and drinking chai latte with soy milk. However, I don't know, maybe it was a wrong day to go there, and maybe a lot of hipsters were in their works or university or whatever they are, like maybe in a bunch of barbershops, whatever. So none of them were outside. I wouldn't say that those people look that different from what I can see in Amsterdam. Not at all. And the district itself, yeah, it looks cool, but maybe if I didn't have a expectation that it should be a really hipstery place to be, I wouldn't say so, honestly. It's a cool district. Like, I wouldn't say that it's not worth in going there. The greatest part is the Super Killing Park. Super Killing Park is super. What was really surprising to me is just, at one point of time, it was like this big sign saying Moskvich, which is like a person who lives in Moscow, or who is from Moscow. And it wasn't Cyrillic, so it was weird to see. And a bunch of advertising of Asian noodles or whatever, which is just like out of the blue. Well, it wasn't that Super Killing Park, and that was probably a cool part of it. Graffiti, of course. a bunch of weird stuff on buildings. In some places, yeah. But besides that, it's not that different. Still cool. Vesterbro. So after going in Nørrebro, I just went to Vesterbro, which is Western District. Really boring names. So Nørrebro is Northern District. Vesterbro is West District. And Østerbro was East District. Boring. So Vesterbro was really similar to Nørrebro. Yes, it was really similar. Besides the part that, so it was like a lot of storage buildings, which used to be storage buildings, of course. Now some of them already either cafes or galleries, and I've been to one of those galleries called We1 Gallery. You'll hear more about that gallery further. Besides that, everything is pretty much the same. The whole city, like the architecture of the whole city, I wouldn't say that it's that eclectic as in Berlin, where some districts are so much different than the others. In Copenhagen, you may experience this. So like Nørrebro, Vesterbro, Frederiksberg, Østerbro, Centrum, obviously, most of them are really like, this is the older Copenhagen. The part where I lived, which was Amager Beach, a lot of either new houses, like block of flats, or small, just one floor houses where people lived. So next day was Christiania, and I'm not sure was you guys heard or not. So there is this small rebellious district in the Copenhagen which proclaimed to be independent from Danish government, and they have their own rules and blah 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 blah. And the main reason they do there, they live like hippies and they do drugs. It really looks like a hood, like a ghetto kind of thing. Not in terms of like type of people living there or something. People look like stoners, just like stoners slash hobos. I hope I'm not saying something bad, but I think, like homeless people. So those people were like wearing some kind of, they look sketchy, really sketchy. They were, and most of the people were like in dirty clothes, and they, I felt really uncomfortable walking through the streets of Christiania. And there is the rule that on the main street you can't shoot with a camera or do photographs. So I just have a bunch of them before I went to this big street. The main reason for this, like this rule that you shouldn't do this, the main reason for this is just because all the smugglers are selling drugs exactly on the street. Well, that's why. Pretty straightforward. They don't want to be caught. They want to be in prisons because I suppose at some point of time they need to leave Christiania because there is no supermarket obviously there, or whatever they can get their goods. There is not even a shop. It's really small community, and it's sad. There is like 1,000 people living there. Well, maybe. It doesn't look like it. All the houses are pretty small. Yeah, and all of them in graffiti, and not in a tasty kind of a graffiti, but just these teenagers created tags with their paint and just trying to put it everywhere, which just looks really ugly, rather than improving the looks of the city. So on the last day I just decided to walk around, and I decided to eventually go to Frederiksberg, which is considered to be posh district of Copenhagen. They all look pretty much the same except for Christiania. But come on, people. Well, maybe it's considered to be a better district to live in. I would reckon that, well, it looked maybe a bit, no it didn't, like it just looked the same. It just looked the same as Nørrebro. Maybe a bit different kind of people living there. I wouldn't say that in other districts there were more sketchy people, no. The only sketchy part was Christiania. All the other parts are fine, just fine. So, while Frederiksberg has quite a big park with a palace in it. That's pretty much it. Besides that, it's probably just a really good neighborhood, so that's why it's considered to be posh. Is it more posh than Centrum? I wouldn't say so. Is it more posh than Nørrebro? Yeah, probably. You know, I mean, it's really hard for me to judge. I obviously haven't seen every single street in all of the districts, and I don't know what kind of people live in all of them. Well, I met a bagger in Nørrebro, so probably it makes it a bit less posh than Frederiksberg. Does it matter in the end? I don't know. Well, it was a cool park, a bunch of ducks and crocuses and flowers. It was cool. And I was living in Amager. I don't remember they were like this Amager part was also divided into a bunch of other districts, and I was living in Amager west. I was living near the beach. The beach was great, quite a small one, but it looks like dunes. So you'll see the photos here, and I even took a run around. It was pretty cool. As I mentioned, the neighborhood itself, there were a lot of blocks of flats with pretty small flats, and among them a lot of semi-detached houses and just like smaller houses for one family. Well, people living their life. There was a Maserati standing in the front of the place where I was living in, so I guess it's also okay neighborhood. Yeah. Okay, so what you can do in Copenhagen? So besides just walking the streets and checking out all these districts and architecture, obviously, you should be able to do some other things. First of all, if you're lucky enough, you can go to different festivals which are happening, so or exhibitions. So during the time when I was there was this Copenhagen documentary film festival. I didn't really want to go there because it was quite pricey. Yeah, for persons living in the Netherlands, Copenhagen was quite pricey, I know. So that's why I just decided to follow a bunch of the suggestions which I got from a friend of mine. So first of all was We1 Gallery. Free admission. It's mainly for selling people's works. So it looks a bit sketchy. The paintings were good though. As for the other thing, probably the biggest out of those tourist attraction was Glyptotek. Ny Carlsberg Glyptotek. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So this is kind of a collection that Carlsberg, like owner of Carlsberg, collected throughout the time. Most of this is just like old statues from ancient Greece and Romans and Egyptians and other like Etruscans, whatever. If you're into this kind of stuff, go ahead. I'm not really anymore. Like I found that most of this stuff is kind of repetitive and boring. Yeah, I would use this word, boring. The inside looks great though, and the winter garden is really a good place to chill in. As for another thing, I wanted to go to Tivoli, at least just to check out what's inside. But guess what? Okay, now let's go and have some fun in Tivoli, which is like a local amusement park or something. That will be fun. I hope the admission will be free. I'm hoping for too much. It was closed. It opens only in April, and good for me. I didn't waste my money on some kind of a stupid elf train, even though I really wanted to go on my elf train. Okay, next up, Nikolai Kunsthal. This is a great gallery, art gallery in church. So it used to be church, now it's art gallery, and it looks awesome. I mean, there have been free exhibitions mainly, so all of the floors of the church are different parts of exhibitions. There were only free exhibitions. So the biggest hall in the church is, like, you probably understand what I'm talking about, usually where all the stuff is happening. It was a really big installation / performance thing. I'll share a bunch of photos here. I don't think I took too many of them, but it was cool. It was more like the person, their inner world, their interaction with their people who are close with them, and their interaction with society. So there were like 3 parts of the installation, and it was cool. It was also probably the first part when I've seen performance artists in living installation, which was cool, and not just as a standalone performance part. Then during this time there was this Focus short film festival, so I took about an hour and checked out 10 films, and I enjoyed most of them except for the one called Egg, and for the other one where there was the author of the video, she was just pretending to be a YouTube blogger and speaking about some stuff. I didn't find it interesting and I left, even though I watched all the others. Most of them were cool, some of them were okay-ish. The Egg, I didn't like the Egg at all, even though I reckon there was like a lot of time, probably most of the time spent there because it was animation, and what I can admire is the amount of work put into this short film, but not the short film per se. Yeah. And then there was the other part, the other exhibition, where this woman, she's a German photographer, and she went to Antarctic, and she took a photo of ices and of like glaciers and all these things, which was really cool. So they were boring the ice, and she was just taking some photos while it was boring. So like the photos of ice thing. Cool though. And the last thing where I went was Thorvaldsen Museum. I didn't expect anything from it because it didn't look like the museum where I would want to go. But it turned out to be great because, again, the museum inside looks great. What's inside? A lot of statues. The thing which I enjoyed the most. No. So that's why there were a bunch of the compositions which I really liked, and luckily at the point of a time, 2 artists, they decided to make a bunch of installations within the whole museum, which made the whole experience a bit more interesting rather than just looking at the statues and humming at them, because what else you can do with statues if it's usually just a representation of person? I mean, besides just admiration of, whoa, this statue looks good, and this statue looks good. Besides that, I wouldn't really understand why would a person who is not really involved in creating statues would be that interested in looking at them. And the last part is food. I ate food in Copenhagen. Yes. And a bunch of the places were also recommended by a friend of mine. I wanted to point out more, but I visited only two. I visited Mirabel and I visited Ramen Tobiru. Well, Mirabel is cafe for breakfast / lunch, everything. Good interior. Food was okay, like okay, on more of a better scale than a bad scale. And ramen was really awesome in this Ramen Tobiru place. Obviously, what I've also been is just a lot of coffee places. So there is this chain of coffee places called Espresso House. I suppose it's just a Danish Starbucks, and what I like about it is gives just a better coffee than Starbucks. That's why I usually either go there or to Coffee Industry, which is Swedish coffee place. So if you're around Copenhagen and you like coffee as much as I do, just go to those two places and you'll be warm, fed, with great desserts, good coffee, and internet. Because I mostly was looking for the internet in a coffee place. That's all I need. I'm a simple man. Well, this is it. Thank you all for listening. I'll try to make it shorter next time. And maybe not. And maybe yes. Who knows? You decide.